Hi everybody, this is Eduardo Fiallos, the Coordinator of Client Education for VolleyStation, and I want to welcome you back to our Bootcamp Zero series. This is part 3, the third and final part of our series of videos for helping you use VolleyStation when you have zero coders to help you. In this video, I'm going to talk about 4 different areas in the application. The first one of these is the rotation planner, something that I think is an important tool that you can use, particularly in scouting and getting ready for your matches, for your competitions. The second thing I want to talk about is reports. Reports are a good tool to use to get some basic information out of scout files, whether those be from your own practices and matches or from scout matches. The third thing I want to talk about is preset groups. These are related to reports, but they are a great way to automatize a set of steps that you're going to use regularly, be it for practice or for scouting. And then the fourth thing I want to talk about is spreadsheets. There's a whole lot of spreadsheets out there, and I want to give you the freedom to be able to choose amongst them, but when you choose them, to be comfortable working within them. So hold on, we're going to get started. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is the rotation planner. As always, when you start up VolleyStation, this is the screen you're going to see. If you're having issues logging in, please reach out to us and let us know, and we'll get you squared away with that as soon as we can. If we click here on the rotation planner, what you'll see is something that I already have built out, and this is something that you would be able to customize anytime for any two teams that you want to put in. So what we have here is Team A and Team B. In this case, I've entered lineups for the love teams from Madison and Omaha. And so what you see below this are their lineups, starting with the setter here in this first position. So Omaha, number 14, and Madison, number 7. And then their lineups in rotation order following the setter. So assuming that the setter would start in position 1, then 13 would be in zone 2 or position 2, then number 2 would be in zone 3, etc. on through the whole rotation. Now, what you can see here below that is court maps for each of the teams in their reception patterns or with their 3 front row players and the server in the case of the serving team. Right now you can see I've got Madison as the serving team, and I have Omaha as the receiving team. So what you'll see here is in the particular match that I was scouting, when Madison and Omaha began the set, Madison was in what we would call rotation 2, where the setter is in zone 6, and Omaha was in rotation 5, where the setter is in zone 3. So you can see here, as I said, Omaha setter's number 14, this first player here. And so 14 shows up here in middle front. That is setter in zone 3, which in America we refer to as rotation 5. So what you can see here then is the common attack patterns and the common serve-receive setups that we would have. Now, if you don't like these setups, unfortunately, these are locked in. There's nothing you can do to change these, to modify them if a team lines up a different way. This is going to be the most common thing, though, so there isn't going to be a whole lot of need to change this on a regular basis. So what you can see then here is over here, I can see which rotation each team is starting in. I can see who is serving and receiving. And then the pluses and minuses allow me to move teams forward or back. And so if you're trying to create a particular matchup between your team and an opposing team, you can look for that matchup by maybe moving Omaha ahead. And so when I say ahead, I'm really actually turning them back. I'm making a larger number. So when I hit plus, it's going from zone 3 to zone 4, which is actually turning them back a rotation, putting them in rotation 4 rather than in rotation 5. So if I continue to do that until we match them both up in the same rotation, so both teams would be in what we would call rotation 2 with the setter in middle back. Here's what that looks like. And so then I could put this team back in 3 and then I can move the other team forward to 3, and we can see the way the numbers change as I make those changes. If I want to then flip this so that I'm looking at a matchup for the other side, so if I want to try and figure out who Omaha wants to get in the front row blocking, or who they want to have serving against a particular rotation for Madison, then I just click on B for the serving team, and the sides are going to flip. Same idea, same information. The last thing to look at here is going to be the color or the print version. And so if I wanted to print this out to have like on a clipboard, courtside, something like that, I recommend changing this to the print version. So that way when you click this print button, it's going to generate a PDF for you. And that PDF then is going to suck up a whole lot less toner from your printer or copier. Recognize now, if you print this, it's only going to print it for this particular pairing of rotations. So if you wanted to try to do this for a lot of rotations, you're going to end up printing a lot of papers. So what I would recommend doing is finding the lineup that you're trying to get and then printing that and maybe a couple of other options aside from that. But that's the rotation planner. So now I want to move on to reports. So reports and montages live over here in the analysis section. And I can build out new ones all the time by just clicking this new report. What I'm going to do, instead of starting a new report from scratch though, is I'm going to show you ones that I already have built, but I'm going to show you the process that I used in order to build them out. So you can see here what I have is a series of first ball reports that could be something that you might be interested in looking at for your own teams or teams that you're scouting. So we're going to start here with this first ball in system attack directions. And if I click this, what I'm going to get is attack directions, and there's going to be broken up by rotation. So setter in zone 1, setter in zone 6, in 5 and 4, in 3 and 2. And these are just in system plays. Which zone was set and where did the ball go? And the numbers that are here within each zone are going to be the total number of attempts and then the attack efficiency on those attempts. Now, how did I build this? I'm going to click this generate again, and what I'm going to get is a new tab, and it's going to show me all the options that I had selected to create this particular report. In this case, I chose attack directions. I then selected the season, the team, and the match or matches. In this case, I only selected one match, but you can select multiple matches to run your analysis, to run your report. And then I'm going to select the filters. In this case, I chose first ball over transition. And then I chose reception effect because effect is the word that we're going to use for grades or evaluation codes, things like that. And so I took pound and plus, which are going to be the in-system grades. These are like 3s and 4s. This is when they're going to be able to set everything they want. Setter is in system. And then after I do that, if I click generate report, I'm right back here to these attack directions that I saw. So this is one thing that I can do inside of reports. Let's take a look at another one. Let's look at out-of-system attack directions. In this case, it's still going to be attack directions, but this time the reception effect, instead of being pound and plus for 4s and 3s, I've selected exclamation point and minus, which is going to be 2s and 1s. So this is going to be generally like a pin-to-pin situation or a one-option type of situation. Sometimes a setter setting with their hands, sometimes it's a non-setter or a setter bump setting. You never know. But now we're going to see where the ball goes when they are out of system. And again, these things read the exact same way, and I would generate it the same way as I did before. Let's take a look at some of the other things that I can do. I also created heat maps. Let's just look at the in-system heat maps. So if I have it generate that. Now what you're going to see is with the heat maps, I've got a few different ways that I can control this. Unlike the attack directions, it's very static. I'm going to create it and it's going to just look one way no matter what. With the heat maps, when I do this, I can change the way the data is displayed, or I can change the kind of data that is displayed. So right now you're seeing total. This means that this is every first ball attack off of a in-system pass all mashed into one court. So there's 37 attempts here. And so if I wanted to break that up, I can change the way the data is displayed by changing from total to combination. And what that does is that changes it to one court per attack combination that I see. In this case, then, we're going to see X5 and X7. X5 is going to be an in-system ball to the left side. Scroll on down, X1, which is going to be a 1, and X6, which is going to be an in-system ball to the right side attacker. And CD is a quick attack. X4 is going to be something to a left side pin that's going to be a little bit faster. And so you can start to see how those balls were all distributed within that. You'll notice that there's no way to break this up by rotation. If you want to do that, you're going to have to create a report that's going to do this one rotation at a time. And at that point, it's probably better to go find one of the spreadsheets that we have that looks at attack combinations or attacks overall, like in first ball, but by rotation. Another thing that I can do is I can change the data to display it by skill type instead of by attack combination. By what skill type means, you have H, T, and P. There's no P's in this one, mostly because most of the time in VolleyMetrics or VolleyStation, when our professional coders are coding professional league matches like this, P doesn't get used very often. H is going to be for hard-driven balls. T is going to be for tips. You can kind of see the way that works out. All the H's are deeper in the court, and the T's are shallower. And so this is one more way that we can break up these visualizations. Now, another thing that we can do is we can change the way that these are appearing. So right now I have heat map selected. I can add arrows on top of that, which is going to give a little bit more information about where the attack started from. If I take the arrows back out, the thing that we don't know is which direction these attacks are all coming from. And so by adding in the arrows, now I can see which direction the attacks were coming from. And then if I change this back to combination from skill type, again, you'll be able to see X5s are coming from the left. Those are not super common. And you can see now where this tip hotspot is coming. All the tips are going right here to this particular area. It looks like in system, there's a whole lot of first balls going to the middle. Right? There's not a lot of first balls going to the left side. There's a few more going to the right side. It looks like this particular team is trying to get the ball to the middle when they're in system in first ball. That seems to be their first option. The CD is going to be a middle running behind, so like a slide type of set. And so again, this really reinforces the idea that this particular team, when they are in system in the particular match that I'm evaluating, is trying to get the ball to the middle. That's the kind of thing that I can gather from this particular report. Real quick now, if I change this to the out of system, and I do the same thing, I just change it to arrows, and then I can change this to the combinations again, and this is out of system now. Out of system, whole lot of balls to the right, and these are tempoed balls, the X6. The V5, on the other hand, is a slower ball to the left. So there's kind of equal numbers on these. See how the total here is 14 and 14. Very few to the middle now, and there's still a pretty good amount of tempoed balls to the left, and then everything else, not a whole lot. So we can use these reports to gather some information about a team. Now, if there are reports like this that I want to be able to run on a regular basis, and there's a whole bunch of them that I want to run, then I recommend creating what's called a preset group. A preset group, if I mouse over this first ball attacking one that I have and click this edit, I'm going to see what this preset looks like. In this case, I'm still looking at the same match that I was looking at the other parts of the series. That is in the season called Boot Camp Zero that I made. I'm looking at the Love Omaha team, and I'm considering one match, their playoff match against Houston. I recommend setting this information here in the default filters for this, because then what you're going to do is in each of the presets, which I'll show you in just a second, each of those presets is going to pull data from the same default filter here. That way you don't accidentally end up with different information in each of these presets, because that'll really screw you up when you're starting to look at things. So what I've got here is this preset directions. If I click on this, you're going to see this is very similar to how I built out a report. And in this case, this is the same report that I had built out that I showed you initially, where it's attack directions in first ball. In this case, I'm not going to distinguish between in system and out of system. We're just going to look at all the first ball things. The next thing I have then is free ball combinations by player. Let's look at that. So the combination by player, what we're going to see here in just a second, is there's going to be a table of statistics about each player, what their attack efficiency, kill percentage, error percentage, things like that are on each attack combination that they hit in this particular match. And so again, I selected first ball. And so we're just going to be looking at statistics about each player by each attack combination in first ball. Then the next series of things that I have here are all videos. So what I can do here in the report type is I can select video montage. And the video montage works the same way because it is the video analysis that we've talked about in a previous video in this series. By selecting the video montage, then I'm basically running through the same set of filters that I can apply when I'm creating a video analysis. In this case, I selected all of the attacks in first ball, and I selected a start zone, and that start zone that I've selected is zone 4. If I click on this, I can show you how I can change this, and I can select multiple zones if I want. But in this case, I just want to select zone 4 because what I'm looking at in this one is video of left side attacks. So this is going to be any attack that starts in zone 4 that occurs in the first ball offense. That's what this particular group is designed to show me. And then I've created the same thing, but I've changed the start zone from left to middle, and then from middle to right, and then into back row. So I have 4 different sets of video here that are all going to be found after the data about the attack combinations, and then that's going to be followed by the attack directions. So now if I click on this first ball attacking preset group, what I'm going to get is all of that information all in one screen. So here are the attack directions, as I explained before. And so this is in system and out of system. This is all first ball attacks, and it's broken down by rotation. Again, the breaking it down by rotation is standard. That's what you're going to get when you look at attack directions. Below that, I have a table of data. And so this is going to show me a list of players that have attacks in this particular match, and then it's going to show you the information broken out by each of the play sets. And so let's consider Jordan Larson. Jordan Larson doesn't hit quick. She doesn't hit behind. What she's hitting is X5 or a go, and she's hitting a hut. Those are the 2 things we see her hit. We also see 1 attempt in this match hitting a slower ball out of the back row, only once. And so each of these gets a total number of attempts, the number of points that they scored. And so for Jordan Larson hitting the go, she scored 3 points on 12 attempts, so that's 25% of the time she's scoring a point. She made no errors, that's 0%. She got blocked probably once, and she looks like she made 2 attack errors, that's 17%. So this is the simple data that you're going to get from this kind of table if you decide to pull this up. Now, the video section of this, I've got 2 options. I can click on Video Preview, or I can click Generate. If I click Generate, you can see here from the download icon, what's going to happen is rather than showing you the video, VolleyStation is going to export a montage of all those videos that you can then take and like upload to Huddle or put it on YouTube, something like that, or just watch it on your laptop, etc. If I click Video Preview, on the other hand, what's going to happen is VolleyStation is going to open up the video analysis window in another tab. And as I showed you in a previous video, it's using the classic filters. Filters selected here are 2. And in this case, it's going to be attacks in first ball and starting in zone 4. And so this is a list of all of those things. And just as I did in when I was looking at video analyses, I can drag these around. I can select and unselect clips. I can change the pre-roll, or how long the video runs after that particular touch occurs. I can come in here and I can make different tags for different things, and I can export things based on that. I can export a single clip. I can look at these things within the match code and see what else is going on. I can do all of these things. And then if I want, I can still export the plays out and create a video. So it's not like I have a choice when I pick this preset and I just click Video Preview. It's not like I've now passed up the opportunity to also generate a file. I can just do it right here by clicking this Export button. And then I'll have the same opportunity to be able to export those videos just as we've seen previously. So those are some of the things that you can do in preset groups. And again, where I encourage you to use preset groups is if there is a regular collection of things that you like to do, like generating maybe all of these first ball looks in order, like that's the way you like to watch video. So instead of having to create these or search for them within a match every time, what you can do is you can create the preset group and you can create each of these presets within it. And then you just have to go to your preset group, click on it, and then it's going to generate it all for you. And then you just start going video preview, and then going and watching that video. So it's a handy way to make yourself more efficient in the things that you're doing. Now, the last area that I want to talk about is probably the thing that is most interesting for a lot of you, and that's spreadsheets. The spreadsheets, along with being really interesting, can also be very overwhelming because there's so many possible worksheets. And this is something that creating them can be something that can be really overwhelming if that's not something that you've had the time and the opportunity to learn how to do. So if you're in that boat, how do you get worksheets? How do you get the spreadsheets to work for you? So you've got a couple of options. One is there is a shared folder that VolleyStation hosts that has a whole bunch of worksheets in it. And these, we've got them labeled by which skill they're looking at. The setter analysis is also going to have a lot of stuff about offense, but it's also going to be about setter touches. And so you can click around in here and go looking for things. Or another thing that you have the ability to do is, if you remember, when you're on this homepage, right here at the top, there is this link that says here you can find a list of all available spreadsheets. If you click on this link, it's going to take you to this page on our knowledge base site, and it's going to show you a list of all the spreadsheets that we have. And you can see here that these items on this list are going to be the same things that were on the folders that I just showed you: serving, passing, setting, attacking, practice, play-by-play, etc. And so now if I click on any one of these, what I'm going to get is a page that's going to explain a little bit about that sheet, maybe show me a screenshot of what it's going to look like, and then it's going to show me formulas about it, which is something that you may not be interested in if you're not trying to code anything that's in here. But more importantly is, if you've read this information up here and you think that this is a worksheet that will help you, something that you might be interested in looking at data from, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's an attachment, and you can click on this, and it's going to download that worksheet for you. And that worksheet, typically, depending on how you have your web browser set up, is going to download into your downloads folder. So let's take a look then at what happens when I download worksheets. So I come back here and I go to Spreadsheets. I can click this Import Spreadsheets button. And when I do that, it's going to ask me to select files. When I click on that, it's going to take me to the folder wherever I last went looking for worksheets. In this case, I've already taken those worksheets that I've downloaded and I've moved them into this folder that I have that I call worksheets. Now, there's a few worksheets that I want to show you. I'm going to take this stat sheet for practice and stats sheet. I'm going to select both of them. And then there's one other sheet that I also want to look at, but it's back up here at the top of this, and that's the attack combinations. And so now I'm going to command click, or if you're on a Windows machine, you're going to control click. And now I've got 3 items selected. And I'm going to click open. And it's going to import these. It's going to show me the progress. It should go pretty quickly unless you're trying to import a large number of these sheets. When I click close, those sheets that I just imported are going to show up at the top of my list because this list is sorted by the date created. So I'm going to start with the stats sheet. When I click on this and open it, what you're going to find is this is a stat sheet that is designed primarily to show match data. And the reason why I say it's designed to show match data is it's going to show each side of the net in its own tab. You can see down here there are 2 tabs. This is very similar. This is very similar to how Excel spreadsheets would work, where you can have multiple tabs and different information in each tab. And so there's a home tab and an away tab. And so the away tab then has the away team information in it, while the home tab has the home team information in it. So we can see here, based on this personnel, that Omaha was the home team for this match, which means that Houston was the away team for this match. And so this sheet has a whole bunch of different things that I can look at. So attacking, both front row and back row attacking, in system or first ball and transition attacking. It's got serving information, receiving information, digging information, etc. So there's a whole lot going on in these sheets. And you can also see as I continue to scroll down, I get some information about this team in rotation or in particular sets. And so it's a pretty comprehensive sheet that you can find to be able to offer you a whole lot of information. And the nice thing about this sheet is that it gives you the opportunity, because of the way it's built, to change the weights that you're going to give different grades. So this is going to get used. So for instance, on the reception, the opponent reception, and the serving averages. All of these things are built on these numbers here. So for instance, if I change the service, the weight of a service ace, then it's going to change the serve average over here if they have an ace. So in this case, J-League winners did have an ace. So let's say that I make this ridiculously high. I make it 10. And you can see now how this number goes up to 1.96. If I reverse that change and I put that weight back down to 4, then her serving average drops back down to 154. And so if you have different weights that you'd like to put in here, this sheet is really nice because it gives you the opportunity to change those weights at any time, and everything that uses this within the sheet is going to automatically update. Now, I did say that this is particularly for matches, mostly because it has both sides separated out. But I also downloaded a version of this for practice. And so when I open this up, what I'm going to get now is just a single tab that says total. And now the numbers are going to get really wonky because there are 2 actually different teams using this. But what I get here now is all the players on that correspond to these jersey numbers on one side. And I can update these jersey numbers by going here in this column A and changing these numbers. So if I wanted to make this 10, I can do that, and then you'll see that line highlight or changes from number 1 to number 10, and that's going to be carried through because of how the sheet is built, because of how all these formulas are written. It's going to give me all the information for number 10 on both sides of the net all the way across. Change that back. And so now this sheet, you can see, gives me more or less the same information. There's a few things that are different that might not be in the other sheet, but we're counting things from both sides. So this is a very handy sheet to have for practices. So these are the kinds of things that you might find in the practice folder on our website, in that Google Drive folder that I showed you before. So those are a couple of examples of sheets that we could possibly import that might be beneficial to us, very general things. I want to show you a little bit more about what we can do with some sheets by looking at this attack combination sheet. So this sheet has something similar to what I showed you in the match stats sheet, and that is this area up here at the top that allows me to change some parameters within the sheet on the fly. All right, so this sheet right here is similar to what I showed you before about attack combinations when I was showing you preset groups and showing you reports. This is a worksheet that has been designed to show different players hitting different attack combinations and some general information about them attacking. And what you'll see right now is that there's a whole bunch of zeros out here. And the reason for that has to do with the setter that is selected. This is a drop down. You'll see that by this little arrow pointing downwards here. In order to change the information that's in the drop down, I'm going to double click on it. When I double click on that, you can see that right now it's selecting 12, who isn't a setter. And so the setters here are 13 and 14. And the reason why the sheet knows that has to do with how it was built. If you want to get into how those things are built, then you can contact us and we can walk you through how those things happen. But just know that these are going to rely on the roster positions, which I'll refresh your memory on here in just a moment. But the two setters that are available to me on this particular roster for Omaha are 13 and 14. So if I select 13 in this drop down, you'll see it takes a second, and then I get an update to see how many times each player has been set by number 13 and was set each of these particular attack combinations. If I double click on that, I can change it to 14, and you can see that 14 clearly is the starting setter because she's setting more balls to these players. One other thing is you'll notice there's this blank cell, or this blank cell here in the dropdown. If I select this, then it's going to remove the setter from consideration, and it's just going to give me all of the attacks regardless of the setter. You'll notice that there are 3 other dropdowns here that I can control. Right now, I'm just looking at first ball attempts. You can see it says yes. I have one other option. I can choose no. If I choose no, then instead of first ball, I'm going to be looking at transition. So I'm going to leave that in first ball right now while I select the rotation. So if I wanted to see what are the different attack combinations being set in a particular rotation in first ball, then I would double click this, and I'm going to choose setter in zone 1. So rotation 1, what happens now? As a team, Omaha, in this particular match that I'm looking at, set 6 balls to the go, and they were hitting negative on those 6 because they were +2, -3 in that rotation. I double click again, and I can change that to zone 2. So what we would call rotation 6. And now they don't set the go at all. Okay? They're not setting the left side at all, it looks like, here in first ball. And if you remember, when we looked at some of the heat maps, there were some weird things there where there were moments when they did not set the left side at all, or very little. They were trying to get the ball to the middle, something like that. And here's how you see that come out here in this particular worksheet. I'm going to change this back to all rotations by selecting the blank cell at the top of this. And now instead of first ball, I'm going to double click this. I'm going to select the blank. So now instead of first ball or transition, I'm getting all the swings. So this is all the attack combinations all the time from all the setters. And so this is one way that I can choose sheets that might be helpful for me is by looking. The cells that are the worksheets that we design will often have these colored cells up here at the top, and that indicates things that you can manipulate to change this sheet dynamically to suit whatever needs you might be looking at the time. Now, there might be some other things that you want to edit in these sheets. For instance, if you don't use the same attack combinations that are here, so you don't want to call a go an X5, you want to call it something else, or you want to take whatever an X5 is in a volumetrics file and you want to call it something different. I highlight this cell and you can see that it's just text in here. So I can change this and just say like left side tempo, something like that. Nothing in the data is going to change. I can edit these cells the same way I would anything that I would do like in Excel, in a spreadsheet. Anything that's just data and not a formula, I can edit like that very simply. If you want to get into how do I edit some of this data here, how do I get these things to work, again, reach out to us. We'd be happy to take some time to be able to walk you through some of these things. Now, I wanted to remind you about which players show up here, which players show up here in this setter list. This is all going to be built on the lineups. And the lineups are going to be built in by position. So if I go here to Omaha's lineup, mouse over it, I don't need to click edit team because that's just going to show me these details here. This isn't going to be helpful unless I want to edit the coaches or the name. What I want to do though is I'm going to select this team and I'm just going to click on it and I get the matches that they're involved in, but I also have these players. And I can see the list of players. These players all have positions. Right? If I want to be able to edit that, I'm going to click this edit roster, get this list right here, and maybe there are some players that I want to take out of consideration from those worksheets. So players that maybe don't necessarily play a whole lot. So if I wanted to do that, just to make this particularly obvious, I'm going to take Jordan Larson, and I'm going to change her position from outside hitter to nothing. Because we should know that Jordan Larson is a pretty important player for Omaha, and so taking her out is going to really change the stats a lot. Same thing, I'm going to take Kimberly Drebniak and I'm going to change her from an opposite to nothing, and I'm going to save that. And so if I go back to my attack combinations, right now I see Jordan Larson here hanging out in here. I'm going to close this sheet, confirm, and I'm going to come back to it. And it's going to recalculate all this. And you'll see now that in the outsides, Jordan Larson has disappeared. And that's because this is built on players that are on the roster as a certain position. So same thing, if I go down here in the opposites, we see Adriana Fitzmaurice, but we do not see Kimberly Drebniak anymore. And so that's an important thing to be able to remember, is if there are players that aren't appearing, especially if you downloaded files from VolleyMetrics, those rosters are not going to have positions on them. So you're going to need to add those in manually the first time that you put in a match for that team. So the first team that team appears in your database, you're going to need to add these. So I'm going to go ahead and put these positions back so that we're going to be able to see those players again in the sheets. So I wanted to point this out because, again, this is going to be something that's very important to us if we are taking matches out of VolleyMetrics and putting them into VolleyStation. You're going to want to put positions in because when you use sheets like this that we built out that are dynamic, you're going to want to make sure players like Jordan Larson show up in those, players like Kimberly Drebniak show up in those. So those are some of the ways of working around in worksheets. Again, we have a whole bunch of spreadsheets available to you. And so recommend that you go find the things that are going to work the best for you, what it is that you're paying attention to, the things that you're working on or need to scout most. If you're having trouble with finding those, please reach out to us and see if we can help you out to find the things that you're looking for. Also, with any of the other things that we've discussed, as always, my contact information is going to appear at the end of this video. Please do reach out and email me if you'd like to find some time for us to discuss things. I'm happy to see what we can do for you, or you can just send me an email with your questions and I will get around to answering those as soon as I can. With that, we're going to close this series. I want to thank you again for using VolleyStation, and I want to thank you for your attention in this video. Again, hope to see you soon. Reach out to me if there's anything I can do for you. Thanks.